really love. Maybe it's coffee, dancing, or your favorite songs. The question is, did you always love it? The answer is probably no. In fact, some of the most beloved aspects of our lives may have been things we disliked at first. However, these experiences aren't random. They are all examples of what is called a mere exposure effect. This is a psychological phenomenon in which we develop a preference for things simply because we are familiar with them. So, let's start with something simple. Music. Have you ever heard a brand new album and thought, not for me. But after giving it a few more listens, you actually loved it? The research shows that the effect peaks after 10 to 20 exposures, meaning that after hearing a song dozens of times, you're much more likely to enjoy it. However, this effect doesn't just apply to music. It shows up in almost each aspect of our lives, including our personal relationships. A famous experiment conducted by Moreland and Veitch in 1992 demonstrated this exact phenomenon. In the study, 4 women were asked to pretend to be college students and attended university lectures for the whole semester. Each of them attended a different number of lectures. One of them none, then 5, 10, and the most 15. During the lectures, they were asked to simply take notes, listen, however, they could not interact with the other students. At the end of the semester, the real students were asked to rank the women on several traits after being displayed photos of them. The traits including attractiveness, popularity, intelligence, honesty. What's surprising about the results is that the students ranked the woman who attended the most lectures as the most attractive, intelligent, honest, successful, although they have never interacted with her. What is even more surprising is that they answered that they have never seen those women before, and they are complete strangers. So, as we can see, the key factor here wasn't the personality or appearance, it was the familiarity, although unconscious. However, one of the most obvious applications of this in our everyday lives is advertising. The companies are not just trying to give you information about their product, they want you to become familiar with it and their brand. The more we see a certain logo or brand, the more comfortable we start to feel around it. Over time, this comfort leads to trust, and we're much more likely to choose this brand over a lesser-known competitor. However, the power of the mere exposure effect doesn't stop at products and people. It also shapes the societal norms and even stereotypes. One study in 2008 demonstrated that after being displayed Asian faces several times, people developed more positive attitudes towards Asian people. This clearly demonstrates that what we often encounter in media, television, shapes our preferences and attitudes towards different groups of people. So, if a minority is underrepresented in media or portrayed in a negative way, this can lead to developing harmful stereotypes by the public. So, the familiarity can be limited. Have you ever made a decision simply because something felt familiar? Think about how often people choose a product, political candidate, or a college simply because they've heard their name before. It's very easy to mistake familiarity for trustworthiness or quality, but they're not the same thing. By sticking what we know, we are limiting ourselves from valuable experiences and opportunities. However, it's not always the bad thing. Actually, familiarity makes sense from the evolutionary point of view. In the distant past, new things could be dangerous. An unknown food or animal could be a threat. So humans evolved to be cautious around new things. However, as we got used to something and saw that it didn't harm us, we learned to approach it with less fear. This built-in mechanism helped us survive. But here's the catch. While familiarity can be comforting, it can also quickly become overwhelming. When we're exposed to something too often, it can lose its appeal. Something that was once enjoyable can become overplayed, or just boring. The psychologists call it a stimulus satiation. This is the thing, when the effect starts to wear off after the peak at 10 to 20 exposures, and we might start to actually ignore and try to actively avoid the stimuli. So, what does this all mean for us? The next time you find yourself feeling drawn to something or someone, stop and ask yourself, is this interest rooted in genuine attraction towards something, or could the new exposure effect be playing a role? While we can't completely avoid the new exposure effect, simply being aware of its influence can help us gain control over our preferences and decisions. While sticking to the familiar isn't always a bad thing, trying new things can actually help us grow. So, let familiarity be your friend, but don't let it be your guide. Challenge yourself to try something new, because your new favorite thing may be something you haven't even discovered yet. Thank you.